Since 2015, the European Union, the OECD, and the government of Finland have been supporting the establishment of sustainable and inclusive social protection systems in several African countries through the European Union Social Protection Systems Program. One component of the program has been centered on social protection capacity development innovations in close partnership with social protection experts from African countries, with country-level and regional social protection experts from the ILO, UNICEF, and UNDP, with co-financing from Irish Aid and GIZ. Part of these capacity-related activities have been the development of social protection curricula in higher learning and TVET institutions in countries such as Ethiopia, Zambia, and Tanzania.
We've been working with the European Union Social Protection System Strengthening. It's one of those programs that really directly focuses on social service workforce strengthening. In Ethiopia, we're focusing on assessment of social service workforce, identification of new occupations or even the existing ones. How can we expand the competency? How can we improve the competency to embed social protection in some of those occupations? And then how do we develop various curricula for those occupations so that we can fill the gaps, we can respond to the demand that's already being created by this massive social protection programs that are running in the country.
Some of the support that has come from the EU-SPS program has been targeted towards enhancing capacity development within the colleagues that we work with from the University of Zambia, who are actually currently focusing on development of a curriculum for social protection practitioners. So the idea behind this is that they would like to have a very specific social protection program that targets both the undergraduate and also the postgraduate students.
As you know, social protection is one of the areas that is growing very fast, especially in African countries, including also Tanzania. But it's still capacity development of government staff and the people who can deliver this component actually is a bit lacking. So that's why actually this idea also came in terms of developing the curriculum that also will benefit the local people who can also work for the governments to boost up actually that capacity and also enhance actually the delivery of social protection in the country.
African Union, which is the union of all African governments, they requested us if we could help develop a permanent African system for capacity development in social protection. And at the same time, the European Union, together with government of Finland and OECD and Germany, had decided that we'll try in this program to support the systematization of social protection capacity development. And this is what we are doing together with our best African partners and also with the good UN partners from ILO and UNICEF and UNDP.
So inevitably there are benefits to having international exposure in trainings, but when it's not because it's an option to broaden your understanding, it's because you don't have the resources in country to develop the training. You have to consider whether you're doing it at an amount that you can afford, or you're doing it because you really have no other option. So, and for you to have enough human resource to be able to run competently, you need to train quite a number of staff, a number of individuals to deliver social protection. And so if you're sending out big numbers, it becomes much more expensive to do that and very unsustainable in the long run.
In Zambia and Tanzania, the projects could not have come at a better time. Recent social protection policy reforms in both countries have revealed some capacity development gaps in the social protection workforce.
The International Labour Organization passed Recommendation 202, which recommended the establishment of floors or social welfare floors. The government of Zambia responded to that call, and so they formulated the National Social Protection Policy. there was a realization that if we are going to implement this national social protection policy, we need to create the national capacity. The capacity has always been there, but they thought that no, we need to enhance this capacity. And their conception of capacity building was through pre-service training. There were already some ongoing in-service training, but they thought that no, we need to supplement that with pre-service training, or some kind of ongoing training.
Tanzania has been going substantial reforms in the social protection sector, especially in terms of seeing how the country would extend coverage to reach the broad segment of the population who are currently not covered by any known form of social protection. It came to our realization, therefore, that we needed a workforce.
Both countries then embarked on the process of looking at how they could put in place capacity development systems in the social protection sector.
So the idea was we need to have a program where when a student is admitted, is able to gain knowledge to implement or to design, analyze and implement programs that are being reflected by the framework that will cover the entire social protection system.
Taking very similar approaches, Zambia and Tanzania began to create baselines to gather information on what exactly existed and what was lacking in social protection training.
Now the issue was, how do we go about creating that capacity or creating that training? So they came up with a two-phase project called the Social Protection Curriculum Assessment and Development. The next objective was to find out what is going on here in terms of training in social protection.
We did conduct a mini survey of academic institutions which provide courses which are either purely social protection or social protection related, to be able to identify the knowledge and skills gaps in terms of the delivery of social protection learning outcomes.
And then who are the people who are teaching these programs? What are their qualifications? And then also people that are practicing social protection in the field, non-academics. Can we create a database for these people? And then the last one was, can we come up with ideas about what would be the most appropriate level of training? What we did was to engage people that are already working, those people that are managing social protection programs and services.
So stakeholders who are particularly the industry itself, both from the government and from the private sector, NGOs, civil societies, individuals, and even students in higher learning. They give us further input that what would be the necessary skills, what would be the necessary knowledge requirements for someone to be able to acquire the appropriate competence and be able to implement successfully the non-contributory social protection, the contributory, the productive inclusion, and the social services part of social protection.
So that was the scope of the phase one of the project.
The findings of the research helped narrow down the specific learning gaps in both countries respectively.
So the findings revealed that even though we have the necessary teaching resources in terms of the human resource capacity, teaching staff in our academic institutions, but we still needed a curricular at a master degree level and at a proficient certificate level to help cover the knowledge and skills gap.
We generated about 3 categories of training needs. One was on the basis of those social protection programs that focus on what we call contributory based. And then also looked at the non-contributory program. And so on the basis of that, we thought that we need to introduce pre-service training, both at undergraduate and graduate level.
Having narrowed down to the specific programs that would be used to fill the training gaps, both countries then began their journeys to develop their curricula. In Zambia, the University of Zambia was the focal point of the curriculum development process, taking an interdepartmental approach.
What the University of Zambia has done was to create a team of academics, interdisciplinary in nature, both from economics, from social work and sociology, from women studies, to constitute a core team to work on this project. And at the same time, we're also going to involve other relevant stakeholders outside the academia, the current practitioners, and the other relevant stakeholders. They have an input. They will have an input, so we can find a system of what to mobilize their inputs in the design of the curriculum.
When you are developing curriculum, you're developing it for the local people. So having it done here means a lot more people being involved. So it means we're actually interacting with a lot more people that are vested in a particular field.
The output of this will be available to other universities, not just for UNZA, but because this is a national project, it means that any other universities will be free to use the output of this in terms of curriculum to be able to offer that.
Tanzania also relied on the expertise of local stakeholders in social protection outside academia, but the core team was made up of several higher learning institutions, with the Institute of Finance Management taking the lead.
The team is comprised by a number of academicians from various higher learning institutions, from Zanzibar to Arusha, I think, to University of Dar es Salaam, to Institute of Social Work, and the leading institution is Institute of Finance Management. So it covers across Tanzania, specifically those who are coming from social protection related disciplines.
We also had people from the ILO who are key in driving the process of social protection globally, but also in Tanzania. We also had people from the Regulatory Authority of Tanzania, that is SSRA. This is a regulatory body for schemes that are administering social security. So it was important to have these key players. It was also important to notice that we had people from NGOs, people from private sector, people from civil society organizations. So they were all part of the process. And that makes it richer because you are going to accommodate interest of all these groups into the curriculum.
As both countries were embarking on the curriculum development simultaneously, the lines of communication were open to share experiences and learn from each other. This peer review process also included institutions of higher learning from Germany and Finland who were able to provide technical support to both countries' processes.
The University of Zambia, in Zambia, they have also more or less of the same MOU with the EU-SPS program. And since they're also developing something similar, we thought we should actually meet and also kind of compare notes on where we are, how can we help together, how can we work together to enhance actually this curriculum development delivery. With also addition of visiting professors from Germany and Finland as well, so that also we can continue learning from each other. But also as part of enhancing actually enhancing and also polishing the content that is within already the draft of the curriculum.
We are also involved or engaged with practitioners out there constantly at every stage, both locally and internationally. People at the University of Tampere, others at the University of Bonn in Germany, and other experts from within the region are also involved. So these are major strengths of the curriculum.
Our role was merely to inspire them to think about and review their course descriptions, their learning goals, and their reading list, and think about all the matters which are important in developing a curriculum. But the work was performed by the local partners, so we were just commenting and trying to inspire, to encourage, and give some food for thought. Well, I think this has been a learning experience also for us as outside experts, so it's not just one one-way road, so I think we are also learning a lot.
Since it's not a one-way process, it's not about just us downloading our knowledge, but the idea is really that they also come in and help us to develop the curriculum further. So that's a bit the future vision, that we'll be more sparing partners working on social protection, curriculum issues, and supporting each other.
Both in Zambia and Tanzania, UNICEF and the ILO have been supporting these initiatives from the UN side with their in-country presence. And we can connect that initiative to what is going on in government to make sure it is part of policy development and it helps later the implementation of policies.
Both Zambia and Tanzania have been able to develop drafts of their curricula, and as they get closer to the final output, the process continues to provide much learning and expectation for the future.
I think it's going to have a great impact, because for me the main drivers and also success factors of social protection in the country are really the people who are pushing for it, who are designing it, who are managing it. Of course, it's also a matter of financing, and so it's not only about the people, but I think the people play a really, really important role in having well-qualified staff who can critically study policy options and think through carefully what would be sort of the most appropriate solution for the country that they're working in. I think would be a massive progress towards having really nationally owned and designed social protection systems.
And if we continue to, as EU, UN and other development partners, to work in a coordinated way to support the direction that the governments indicate where they want to go, then I see a good future for social protection.
You are learning within your country, and therefore you are always talking about the problems that affect you as a country. I have been outside studying. When they are teaching, they are using examples from their own country. But here, you are actually touching what you know, what you experience. And in that way, it's a good way to go. Start a course so that as many can benefit.
If we are able really to develop the cadre of men and women who should help to perhaps who can be offloaded on the job market to influence decisions, I think that way we are really going to make it work. So it's about dealing with the policymakers, the practitioners, and also those people that are yet to join the profession, so that we shouldn't have any excuse whatsoever. It is about organizing ourselves.
So it's very important that nationals be involved, and I'm happy that nationals are driving the process. The most important thing also is to have the government support. And this is not an easy investment. This is a huge investment. And so if countries are able to support that move, I'm very confident we are going to achieve the desired results.
This has the benefit of making social protection sustainable over the long run, and also making it a little bit easier to train individuals from within Zambia and hopefully from the region in social protection, focusing on different aspects of social protection. So that's the benefit.